Discovering my pregnant daughter living in her car was shocking. Her transformation left me amazed. Tom sat at his desk, shrouded in the familiar scents of coffee and paper. The hum of the fluorescent lights above pierced through his thoughts as he sifted through student transcripts, criteria, dreams, futures laid bare before him. As the principal of Lincoln High, he thrived on the notion of hard work shaping success. Yet moments stretched painfully long as doubt crept in. Had he really taught them enough? Then the phone rang, shattering his concentration with a chilling dispatch, a police officer's voice piercing the tranquil fabric of his world. "We found your daughter, sir. Lily. She's living in her car. She's pregnant." The words hung in the air, each syllable like a weight thrust onto his shoulders, nearly choking him. The room began to spin. Guilt sunk like stones in his stomach. How could he have failed her so completely? All those years he devoted to advocating for honesty and excellence in education, and now here she was, a reflection of his own shortcomings. The rage he felt was not toward her, but rather the helplessness of a father who'd lost the battle to keep his daughter on the path he had envisioned. How dare she let herself fall into this? How had their lives spiraled so far apart? As he drove through the small town streets, each familiar corner echoed reminders of the life he strove to uphold: neighbors waving, church bells ringing, kids playing. Yet inside, Tom wrestled with a tempest of emotions. Should he confront her, insist she return to the safety of his home? Or should he respect her independence, the very thing she had fought him about when she dropped out of college? He parked outside a local grocery, each moment fraught with dread. There she was, sorting through her belongings in the back seat, her figure still lucid, yet distorted by her circumstances. Emotions collided inside him, anger, pity, and sorrow, all mixed into one. As she turned, her eyes reflected a mixture of defiance and vulnerability. "Dad," she mumbled, barely looking his way, avoiding the sting of his gaze like a punch. He stepped closer, the space between them thick with unsaid words, conflicted motives. "Lily, His voice failed him, bottled up by the fear of how she'd perceive him and his intentions. "You shouldn't be out here. We can talk. You can come home." "Home? You mean back to being the school principal's daughter?" she shot back, bitterness lacing her words. "I don't want to be controlled. I want to be free, Dad." Each word was a raw nerve, igniting deeper layers of anguish. If only she could see how desperately he cared. Yet here they stood, misaligned, each operating under misunderstandings of what love really meant. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks. Tom watched her grow more distant, yet inexplicably different, stronger and more resolute. He couldn't help but harbor admiration for the woman fighting against the odds, but it only compounded his sense of helplessness. He wanted to help, to offer her some semblance of stability, but every gesture seemed to drive an even deeper wedge between them. Respecting her independence was fast becoming his greatest challenge, a task made heavier by the weight of paternal instinct. And then came the art show, a gathering decidedly out of place in Tom's structured life. Walking in amid a throng of vibrant canvases, laughter, and sophistication felt foreign but compelling. He wanted to pull away, yet remained tethered by a magnetic curiosity for Lily's world, her art, a raw reflection of her struggles now cloaked in color and purpose. As he surveyed the crowd, she emerged, radiant, recounting her journey not as a victim, but as a conqueror. Was this the daughter he had once deemed lost? Questions whirled, and for the first time, Tom felt the stirrings of genuine pride battling with confusion. Their eyes locked across the gallery, the world around them fading. The connection, fleeting yet potent, offered hope for comprehension. But would it be enough? As he stood on the precipice of reconciliation, the tension lay thick, questions bobbing beneath the surface. Could he truly embrace her ambitions if it meant dismantling the very ideals he had spent a lifetime upholding? The resolution of their story felt achingly close, yet Tom remained caught in uncertainty, anxious to discover if he could ever fully accept the daughter she had fought so bravely to become. Tom stood in the gallery, wrestling with a poignant mix of pride and confusion. The air was thick with creativity. Vibrant hues reminiscent of both struggle and triumph danced before him. He watched Lily effortlessly command attention, her genuine passion sparking a flicker of admiration deep within him. It was a different person before him, one who seemed to have found her voice amidst the chaos, an embodiment of resilience that stood in stark contrast to the girl who had once rebelled against his expectations. Yet, as he stood amidst the crowd, the distance between them felt insurmountable. Her art spoke volumes, but it voiced the struggles he had only recently come to terms with. Every brushstroke she offered was laced with her journey, a journey he hadn't understood and had inadvertently dismissed. Tom turned away from the revelry, his thoughts spiraling into a deep-seated introspection. How had he allowed her to slip through the cracks of their shared past? He recalled the hours spent documenting student successes, the emphasis on discipline and ambition, the very principles he had embedded in her upbringing. This perspective had felt suffocating at times. Had he placed the weight of the world on her shoulders, of his vision rather than allowing her to chart her own destiny? As the night unfolded, he found himself at a crossroads. Should he confront Lily about her choices, express his concerns over her well-being, the precariousness of her current situation? Or was it time to relinquish the hold he had clung to for so many years, to support her newfound independence even when it terrified him? Later that night, driving home, he was haunted by visions of her range of emotions: defiance, vulnerability, power. Each played on repeat in his mind while he attempted to justify all this with the structured formulas he had crafted over the years. But no formula accounted for the beating heart of a father desperate for connection. No lesson he imparted prepared him for the unfolding chapters of her life. Tom lay awake that night, the silence deep, his thoughts ricocheting off the walls of their fractured relationship. He faced a moral dilemma. Could he truly support her while believing in her independence? Did independence mean losing sight of family ties? At dawn, clarity wrapped around him. It wasn't merely a choice, but an invitation to rediscover his daughter as she had transformed, while challenging the very ideals he held sacred. He resolved to bridge the gap, to be a father while allowing space for Lily to flourish. But crafting a new dynamic would require vulnerability. The next day, he found himself sitting in his stillness, contemplating each word he would say. Should he reach out? Was he ready to be honest about his fears and regrets? Although the prospect terrified him, the idea of a growing bond with Lily was far more compelling than the fear of the unknown. As he gathered his thoughts, a knock interrupted his reverie. It was Lily, standing at his door with art supplies in hand. The moment held an electric tension. Would she accept his desire to connect, or would it falter? "Dad, can we talk?" she asked, hesitance written across her features. He made a decision then and there, setting aside routine judgments. "I'd like that. Let's go for a walk." With those words, a new chapter had begun, laden with possibility, yet steeped in uncertainty. Could they transcend their misunderstandings, redefine their bond? The moment felt laden with tension, but also ripe with hope, and Tom realized the journey ahead was not just about Lily. It was also about him, a pursuit of growth and understanding. As they stepped into the morning light, a soft breeze rustled through the trees, whispering promises of transformation. But would it be enough to face the deeper truths that lay ahead? And how far would each be willing to go to rebuild what was broken? The morning light was blinding, illuminating the possibility of a fresh start. As Tom walked beside Lily, the quiet murmurs of the street filled the air. The sight of her walking with him was as jarring as it was hopeful. Each step felt monumental, laden with fear and ambition. Lily broke the silence first. "I know we haven't talked in a while, Dad. There's so much I want to share with you." Her voice wavered, showcasing the vulnerability beneath her confident exterior. Tom's heart raced. He had anticipated this moment, but the reality caught him off guard, leaving him grappling with the fragile thread of their connection. "Why don't we sit for a bit?" he suggested, seeking a quiet park in their neighborhood. As they settled on a bench, he felt the urgency to create a space where honesty could flourish, but he was unsure how to frame his thoughts without burdening her further. "I've been, well, trying to find my way," she admitted, her gaze meeting his as if searching for understanding. "Art helps me express what I'm going through. I didn't realize how much I needed it until recently." This confession was a soft plea for recognition, an invitation into her world that he was unprepared for. "I saw your artwork at the gallery," he said, choosing his words carefully. "It's powerful. You convey so much through it." He could feel the gap narrowing, yet the air thickened with unspoken issues lingering between them. Lily's eyes lit up, excitement breaking through her trepidation. "Thank you. I've poured everything into it, but sometimes I feel like I'm living in two different worlds." Her expression shifted into something darker, a shadow crossing her features. "There's a part of me that's struggling, Dad, that wants to succeed but doesn't know how." Tom sensed the hesitation veiling the truth. "What do you mean by that?" he pressed gently, aware that this was a pivotal moment for both of them. Her revelations demanded openness, and he needed to honor that. A deep breath escaped her lips, betraying the weight she had been carrying. "It's hard to admit, but I haven't been in a stable place. My car is... It's been my home for a while now." Shock coursed through him, twisting the blade of his paternal instincts. He fought against the urge to react, to default into rescue mode. Yet something slowed him down, urging him to listen instead. "Lily, why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to, but I thought you'd just worry, or worse, try to fix it for me," she murmured, her eyes now firmly on the ground. "I needed to figure out my own path, to prove to myself that I could succeed without relying on you." Tom's mind raced as he absorbed her words. This wasn't just a revelation about her living situation. It was a deeper commentary on their relationship, the fundamental belief that needing help was a sign of weakness rather than strength. As the realization hit him, a surge of determination sparked within. "I want to help you without it being about fixing you. But you have to let me in first." Lily met his gaze, the tension palpable as she weighed her next words. "What does that look like for you?" The question sliced through him, forcing him to confront his own fears of vulnerability. "It means being honest, maybe even uncomfortable. It means learning to support you without feeling the need to control your choices. I realize now that I've done more harm than good trying to shape your path." Her expression softened, the guarded walls lowering gradually. "I want that too, Dad, but it's going to take time." "Time we can take together," he said, the prospect filling the space with the aroma of hope. As they sat, deeper conversations unfolded, punctuated by laughter and profound silences. The park, once a mere backdrop, became a sanctuary for their burgeoning connection. But as much as Tom wanted to bask in this moment of clarity, a nagging thought persisted. "This isn't just about art, is it?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of vulnerability. "What else are you battling?" Her eyes clouded momentarily, hinting at something darker yet undisclosed. In that moment, Tom realized he was only scratching the surface. The deeper truths loomed ahead, and the fragility of their newfound understanding felt both exhilarating and frightening. What lay beneath Lily's brave facade, and would she find the strength to share it? With a shared glance, both father and daughter understood they were on the brink of a pivotal discovery. But even as they stepped into this newfound relationship, an unsettling thought lingered. What would the unfolding of those deeper truths mean for their journey? Tom leaned back on the park bench, trying to steady the maelstrom of thoughts colliding in his mind. The sunlight bathed them in warmth, yet a chill settled within him as he considered the implications of Lily's admission. The weight of her struggle seeped into the very fabric of their conversation, igniting a mix of urgency and fear that he couldn't shake. He had been so consumed with his own failures, with the guilt of their fractured relationship, that he hadn't truly seen her, until now. His momentary silence drew concern from Lily. "Dad," she asked, her voice breaking through his thoughts, "are you okay?" "I'm just processing," he replied, attempting to infuse his tone with reassurance. But the truth was far more chaotic. The vulnerability she had displayed demanded a response from him, and he needed to find a way to be a source of strength without reverting to his old habits of control. "What do you need from me?" he finally asked, his tone softer, more deliberate. He recognized now that this was not just a chance to mend their relationship, it was an opportunity for both of them to grow. Lily looked at him, wavering between hope and uncertainty. "I don't want to just talk about art. I'd like to figure out what I can do next. Like, how can I get my own place?" The question hung in the air, laden with possibility and even more fear. Tom felt the urge to protect her, to shield her from hardship, but he also recognized the importance of allowing her to tackle these challenges on her own. "Have you considered finding resources for young artists? There might be programs that can help you with both your work and living situation." Lily's face brightened slightly, her eyes flashing with the dawn of realization. "I guess I didn't think about that. I was so consumed with thinking I had to figure it all out myself." "You don't have to, and I'm not going to try to run the show," he asserted, a touch of dread in his veins. "I'll support you, but you have to be the one to pursue these avenues, whether it's applying for grants or looking for affordable housing options." As she began to respond, a wave of trepidation washed over Tom. Was he doing the right thing? He was trying to give her freedom, yet a part of him wanted nothing more than to protect her from the harsh realities of the world. "I can do that," Lily said, newfound determination threading through her words. "It might help me focus my art better, too, if I have a stable place." Tom nodded, feeling a swell of pride mixed with fear. He realized that in choosing to empower her rather than simply provide for her, he was also giving himself a chance to face his own demons, his tendency to control, and his fear of inadequacy as a father. "Let's make a plan," he suggested, a slight tremor of excitement creeping into his voice. "What if we started small, even with volunteer opportunities related to the art community? It might not be much, but it could be a step toward connecting with a network that can help you." Lily's expression shifted, excitement barely contained within her. "Yes, I could start with that." The flushing of hope in her cheeks lifted Tom's spirit, yet doubts remained. Would this newfound motivation sustain her? Would she still feel that she was enough if she stumbled along the way? As they plotted out a rough timeline, each mark on the imaginary roadmap felt like a small victory, a beacon that illuminated their path. They exchanged ideas, proactive strategies flowing easily between them, their conversation morphing into a collaborative effort. Yet deep within him, the worry lingered. Had he inadvertently opened a door to vulnerability that would become too heavy if she stumbled? In the midst of their burgeoning connection, the threads of uncertainty tightened. Suddenly, Lily paused, a shadow crossing her face once more. "You know, Dad," she started, her voice barely above a whisper, "if you help me with this, I promise I won't pull away again. But I have to tell you everything. There's still something I haven't shared." The looming promise of deeper truths threatened the new foundation they were building. Tom's heartbeat quickened at her words. What more lay beneath? Her surface? "Okay," he said, steeling himself for what was to come. "I'm here. Just tell me when you're ready." They had embarked on a path of discovery that felt transformative, but with each step, the anticipation of what lay ahead began to churn uneasily within him. What secret could possibly remain that would test the tenuous connection they had just begun to establish? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the park, a tension hung between them. Tomorrow loomed with promises and uncertainties, and soon truth would force its way into their lives. Tom awoke the following day with a renewed sense of purpose, the remnants of their conversation lingering like an unfinished painting. His focus sharpened on Lily's potential, and he could feel the excitement of their budding collaboration stir within him. It was like seeing the world through freshly polished lenses, each detail more vibrant and profound. Yet the thought of what Lily still carried in her heart gnawed at him. He spent the morning immersed in research, accessing resources that could aid Lily on her journey to independence. With each click on the keyboard, he felt a rush as he unearthed grants, exhibitions for emerging artists, and shelters that prioritized artistic youth. He noted each link, laying the groundwork for their joint venture. However, as the hours slipped by, his mind drifted back into darker territories, the very shadow of his own past failures. He was abruptly awakened from these thoughts by a message from Lily, her text simple yet profound. "Can we talk today? I want to show you something." Hours stretched into an eternity before they finally met up again. They chose a nearby cafe, a locale infused with artistic ambiance, and Tom arrived with a mixture of apprehension and hope. As he entered, he spotted Lily already seated, engrossed in a sketch. The sight of her intense concentration sparked an unexpected warmth in him. She was talented and fueled by a passionate drive that felt almost contagious. "Hey, Dad," she greeted him, looking up with a smile that momentarily chased away the clouds of uncertainty. "I've been thinking a lot about our plan and wanted to give you a glimpse of where I want to head." She laid the sketch before him, and his breath caught. It wasn't just a drawing, it felt like a manifestation of her dreams, a series of vibrant designs reflecting her vision for a future art exhibit. Each stroke felt powerful, both a declaration of her inner world and a loud cry for her autonomy. "This is amazing," he exclaimed, a swell of pride rising in his chest. Yet fast on the heels of that joy came a whisper of doubt. Was this truly what she wanted? He asked her why she had chosen these themes, hoping to peel back the layers of her inspiration. Lily hesitated, her face shadowed by a fleeting fear. "These are my dreams, Dad. But—" The hesitation hung heavily between them, laden with unspoken truths. "I still have to tell you about something that happened a while back, something that made me rethink everything." The cafe buzzed around them, yet it faded into background noise as Tom keyed in on her slowly unraveling tension. The stakes were being raised. The very air pulsed with an intensity he hadn't anticipated. "What is it?" he pressed gently, his heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of her words. She took a deep breath, her eyes searching for the words that danced just out of reach. "I was living in my car for a while, Dad. Art wasn't paying, and I thought I could make it work, but I couldn't." Tom felt as though the ground had shifted beneath him, leaving him unmoored. Layers of denial collided with the reality of her situation, overwhelming him. How had he not seen this struggle before? The degree to which he had failed to protect her left an acidic taste in his mouth. "I didn't want to worry you," she continued, her voice shaking but her resolve evident. "I figured if I shared my struggles, you'd try to fix everything, and that wasn't what I needed. I had to confront it myself." A torrent of conflicting emotions surged through him, anger at the circumstances, grief for her suffering, and an unexpected admiration for her tenacity. She was standing up, even after everything she had faced, embracing vulnerability in ways he couldn't yet fathom. Tom wrestled with his thoughts. Was his instinct to shield her too strong, too rooted in fear? Or could allowing her to navigate this on her own ultimately build strength and resilience? Each of these questions weighed like stones in his heart. "Lily," he began cautiously, suddenly aware of the tightrope they were walking. "I get why you felt you had to handle it alone, and it's okay to let me in. I want you to take these steps, but we can also do it together." Her gaze met his, searching for affirmation. "You mean you wouldn't try to fix it?" No, he replied, the honesty settling between them like an anchor. I want to support you, to help you find ways that empower you, but you have to lead the way. With that, they forged a new understanding. The conversation shifted, exploring both creatively and practically how to transition Lily from her struggles to her achievements. Each shared idea fortified their bond, slowly transforming turbulence into teamwork. Yet the shadow of her past lingered like an unresolved art piece, and Tom understood that Lily's journey involved confronting not just her fears, but also the cascading effects of her struggles. As their discussion continued, Tom felt an overarching sense that deeper realizations lay ahead, like a canvas awaiting its first brushstroke. What else remained unsaid? What truths would surface from beneath layers of hurt, and how would they shape both their destinies? The walls of the cafe, once mere background, now felt like observers of the pivotal moment in their lives. The clock ticked relentlessly on, urging them toward revelations yet to unfold. Lily's next words, half buried in vulnerability, hinted at transformations far beyond mere practicalities. "Dad," she murmured, "there's something more I need to share, something I've held back for too long." Tom's chest tightened as he braced himself for the next chapter of their shared revelations, knowing that once the truth was out, nothing would remain untouched. Lily's gaze dropped to the table, her fingers nervously tracing the edges of her sketch. Tom felt a swell of anxiety as he waited for her to continue. His mind raced with possibilities. What could she possibly say that would deepen the emotional chasm between them? "I thought I could make it work, living in my car. Honestly, there were days when I thought I was invincible, like it was a part of my artistic journey," she said slowly, her voice a touch stronger now. "But as time went on, it felt more like I was running away from myself rather than creating anything meaningful." Each word hit Tom like a thunderclap, forcing him to confront the reality of their situation. Invincible? The art world had always been a cruel mistress, but living in a car was more than just a reckless choice. It was a symptom of something far deeper. "What do you mean by running away?" he asked, his heart pounding. He needed clarity to understand the layers of fear and ambition spiraling within her. "That's just it, Dad. I thought if I could reinvent myself through my art, everything would align. But I came to realize I was hiding from you, from my feelings, from everything I didn't know how to face. The art stopped being an escape and became a reminder of how lost I really felt." Tom leaned in, captivated by her honesty. It was as if she was peeling back layers of a protective shell, revealing a vulnerability he had never witnessed before. Yet, buried within her confession was a hint of resilience. "And now?" he asked, hoping to shine a light on the road ahead. "What do you see when you look at your future?" Lily looked up, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. "That's the thing. I know I can create something from this chaos. I've been thinking about curating an exhibit that tells my story, every hit and every miss, an honest portrayal of what it means to struggle for your dreams, to confront the darkness and emerge changed." A rush of pride surged through Tom, intertwining with his concern. "I want to help you get there, but what's stopping you?" She took a deep breath, the weight of her words pressing down on them like a palpable force. "Financial stability is one piece, but honestly, I still worry you'll see me as that girl living in her car and not as the artist I want to become." The revelation struck Tom intensely, sending ripples through his thoughts. It was one thing to support her through practical concerns, but the emotional boundaries were where the real work began. "You have to trust me," he said firmly, looking straight into her eyes. "Your past doesn't define how I see you, but you must believe that too. We can't erase those moments, but we can use them to build something stronger." Lily stared at him, the tension fading just a little. "You mean you want me to use my past in the exhibit?" "Absolutely," he nodded, encouraging her to see the potential therein. "Only through confronting that can you grow, shape your narrative, craft an authentic story that resonates with other people." But Tom felt the encroaching dread of the steps to take. Exhibiting vulnerability was risky, not only for Lily but for him as well. Each layer peeled back had the potential to expose him. He had been so engrossed in saving her from pain that he had forgotten how to embrace it himself. "Do you remember how I always said art is a reflection?" he added, letting his eyes roam over her sketches. "Your journey, your truth, it's a piece of that reflection. If you can own it, the fear diminishes." Lily nodded slowly, a sense of resolve beginning to flame once again. "Maybe it's time I faced my fears head on. It's the only way to make my art genuine." As they moved deeper into the conversation, Tom felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. They needed action, a timeline, concrete steps to change the trajectory of both their futures. "Let's set a plan," he proposed, leaning forward. "We'll start researching venues and apply for grants together. I want to help you build this dream piece by piece." Lily's expression began to brighten. "You'll really do that with me?" "Of course," he smiled, but the underneath lay an unsettling undercurrent. Would he be able to navigate his own discomfort while supporting her? Yet as they dove into the technicalities, Tom's mind flickered back to earlier uncertainties. The shadows of her past gnawed at him still. What if the journey revealed more than either of them was prepared to confront? Just as joy began to unfold in their renewed partnership, Lily hesitated again. "Dad, before we go too far, there's one more thing I need to tell you." His heart seized. How could she possibly spring another surprise? What fresh complexity awaited them? "It's about what I discovered while I was on the streets." The tension edged back into the air, thick and unyielding. Tom braced himself for the weight of new revelations, aware that the truth could transform everything. Would this new piece of information deepen their bond or fracture it further? Lily's eyes held a storm, a mixture of fear and courage playing out beneath the surface. Tom felt the air between them thicken as she took a moment, her breathing steadying. The tension hung around them, an invisible thread that pulled tighter as she prepared to share whatever burden lay on her heart. "I discovered," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I discovered I was pregnant." Tom's world shifted, the revelation hitting him with gut-punching force. He felt a weight in his stomach, an unsettling combination of dread and protectiveness. "You're pregnant?" he echoed, his mind racing through the implications. Questions crashed against his rational thoughts like waves. What would this mean for her, for them? "I didn't know until just a few weeks ago," Lily explained, her voice gaining strength as she faced the truth. "I was scared and confused. I didn't think I was ready for motherhood, for anything, really. And I didn't want to tell you while I was still grappling with my own life." Tom searched her eyes, needing answers. "What do you want to do?" The apprehension in his voice was palpable, not just for her future, but for his role in it. The weight of being both a father to a daughter and a grandfather was overwhelming. "I'm not sure," she replied, frustration lacing her tone. "I thought about keeping it, but I don't even have a stable place to live. How could I raise a child in my car?" The truth was suffocating. The transition Lily faced marked by deep emotional turbulence. Tom sensed the haunting reality of her circumstance and recognized the urgency of reckoning with this new reality together. "You've gone through so much already, Lily. I want you to know you're not alone in this," he said earnestly, a surge of determination strengthening his resolve. "We can figure it out, but we need to confront everything head on." An array of emotions flickered across Lily's face, hope mingling with fear, resentment merging with acceptance. "But will you still see me as that girl who lived in her car? As her father, how do you see me now?" The vulnerability in her voice struck Tom hard. "Honestly," he said, allowing the moment to ground him, "you are so much more than that. You are someone trying to carve out a life for yourself and your child. That girl you mention is part of your journey, but it doesn't define you." As Lily grappled with her introspection, Tom felt a shift within himself as well. He was no longer simply a spectator in Lily's life. He found himself stepping into a role that demanded greater personal accountability. Suddenly, the echoes of his own past decisions, choices made to protect and provide, sparked an awareness of where he needed his focus to be now. "Let's talk about options, Lily," he suggested, trying to keep his voice steady and calm. "If you want to keep the baby, we'll explore what resources we need. If you decide you can't, we'll talk about that too. Whatever you choose, I'm here." She nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I want to explore options, but I need to know it's not going to push you away from me." Tom reached over, placing a hand on hers. "Our bond won't break. It will expand. We're moving forward together. But we also have to figure out our foundation, your art, this exhibit, and now your future as a mother." The goal of the exhibit floated in the air between them, now overshadowed by the magnitude of their new reality. In that moment, Tom understood that they shared not only the commitment to Lily's artistic vision, but also a shared responsibility toward a new life. "Have you thought about how you want to incorporate this into your art?" he probed, seeking ways to unify the fragments of their lives. "This experience could transform your narrative." A spark ignited in Lily's eyes. "Maybe I can showcase not just the struggles to create art, but the struggles of becoming a mother too. It's all a part of the story, right?" "Absolutely," Tom agreed, feeling a swell of pride for her resilience and newfound vision. The truth brings strength. It gives you voice where silence once ruled. He knew this was a pivotal moment for both of them. They stood on the brink of transformation, poised to unveil not just art, but life experiences laced with struggle and redemption. Yet beneath the promising horizon, a flicker of uncertainty lingered. Tom couldn't shake the notion that while they built this new narrative, the shadows of doubt would inevitably emerge. What awaited them in this new chapter of their lives? As they began to discuss their plans in tentative excitement, a pressing question emerged in Tom's mind. How would they navigate ahead when facing the world's unpredictable barrenness as artists, father and daughter, and now a family united by circumstance? The ground beneath them felt both fragile and empowering, illuminating the uncertainty that lay just ahead. "Dad, I need your help more than ever," Lily said suddenly, breaking through his thoughts. "And I'll be here," he promised, though anxiety coiled in his chest, urging him to confront the crossroads they would soon face. Would their bond withstand the trials about to unfold? Lily's resolve began to crystallize in the hazy light of their shared moment. The anxiety that once trapped Tom in a cycle of helplessness was now exchanged for a burgeoning partnership anchored in their truth. He watched her as she navigated her thoughts with determination, inviting the concept of artistic expression into her tumultuous internal landscape. "Okay, let's break it down," Lily said, her voice steadier. "If I want to move forward with the pregnancy, I need to find a place to stay, somewhere stable. That has to be first." Tom nodded, impressed by her decisiveness, yet a heavy weight settled in his stomach at the prospect of securing stability. "We can look into rental options or shelters that support mothers," he suggested, his mind racing to find tangible solutions. "And I'll help you with the costs if needed." Lily frowned slightly, considering his offer. "But I don't want you to just throw money at the problem. This isn't just about having a roof over my head. It's about finding a way to thrive, for me and for the baby." Her words pierced through his protective instincts. Tom realized that offering financial support without follow-up could risk undermining her desire for independence. He felt a growing determination to help her assert control over her own path. "Then let's explore resources together. Information on art-based grants could help fund your exhibit and provide a source of income. It might give you the creative space to flourish." As they unraveled their discussion further, Lily's eyes lit up, and Tom felt a profound shift within them both. It was no longer just a matter of addressing immediate concerns. They were constructing something larger, a partnership solidified by their mutual creativity and the drive to build a nourishing future. Right, that's it, Lily exclaimed. I need to channel this chaos into my art. I want to tell the story of vulnerability and strength, she affirmed, eagerness bubbling inside her. I could create a series about motherhood, from uncertainty to the experience of love, capturing every bit of being a new parent. Tom's heart swelled with pride. She had just transformed her fears into an artistic vision, which was more than he could have hoped for. Yet the other side of her ambition still nagged at him. It's a great idea, but what if external forces, like critics, undermine what you want to express? For me, this isn't just another exhibit, she replied defiantly, the storm inside her eyes replaced by clarity. Even if critics are harsh, that doesn't change the truth of my experience. I've seen what silence does. My story deserves to be shared. It might even inspire someone else who feels lost. Tom remembered his own struggles as a young artist, how raw honesty had served as an anchor for his work. It struck him that this was a pivotal moment, not only for Lily, but also for him, an opportunity to once again embrace vulnerability. Then let's do this together. I'll work on the logistics and ensure your voice is amplified. Gratefulness washed over Lily, but alongside it was a new current of concern. She could sense the burden of expectation mounting in Tom's demeanor. Are you sure this is what you want, Dad? Honestly, it terrifies me, he confessed, acknowledging his own turbulent emotions. But I've spent far too long standing on the sidelines of my own life. It's time to act, to create something honest with you. They settled into a silence filled with urgency, their goals evolving into shared commitments, intertwining like branches from a single tree. Yet the frailty of their ambitions echoed in their minds. The fear of failure loomed above them, making their path oily and uncertain. Tomorrow, I'll start reaching out to art institutions, Lily said, fisting her hands in determination. And I'll search for housing solutions and resources, Tom promised, beginning to craft a plan of action. But even as they mapped their steps forward, the gnawing doubt about the obstacles ahead gripped Tom. The shadow of resistance encroaching, taunting him with the weight of past failures. The real question looming now was how to build a solid foundation while confronting the challenges of tomorrow. As they prepared to part ways for the night, Tom couldn't shake off the sensation that their journey was about to demand sacrifices that would deepen their bond or stretch it to the breaking point. Next step, Dad, Lily said, her voice steady but uncertainty threading through her words. Let's ensure our resources outnumber our fears. Did they have what it took to conquer their insecurities and still rise as artists and family? The sun filtered through the worn-out curtains of Tom's small apartment, casting flickering shadows across the room. The promise of the day weighed heavy on his shoulders as he sat at the cluttered dining table, a list of resources spread out before him. Each item represented not just possibilities, but glimpses of hope for both him and Lily. He flipped through pages of rental listings, mental calculations dancing in his mind. Would they be able to afford a place? Could they secure something suitable for Lily and the baby? Doubt snaked through his focus like weeds creeping into a garden. The fear of inadequacy whispered incessantly at the back of his mind. What if he couldn't deliver the support she so desperately needed? Tom shook his head, brushing off the inner turmoil. Today was about action. He picked up the phone and began dialing local shelters and organizations specializing in housing support for expectant mothers. His questions spilled out urgently, anything to carve a path through the dense fog of uncertainty clouding his thoughts. A soft voice on the other end provided information, but Tom was more focused on how this would change Lily's world. He could feel her artistic passion pull him in a new direction, like gravity drawing them closer to a shared ambition. Jason's unyielding worry about their financial future seemed to dissipate with every grounding piece of knowledge he gathered. Meanwhile, Lily was in her studio, a small nook in the back of her cramped apartment. Among scattered paint tubes and canvases, she felt a fire reignite within. She focused fiercely on her sketches, pouring her emotions into each line. The theme of motherhood pulsated through her, serving both as a fear and exhilaration, as she interwove her narrative of vulnerability with art. "What if I make this a living table?" she questioned aloud, her pencil gliding effortlessly over the surface of the canvas. A visual journey representing all the stages. It could symbolize the evolving identity of a mother, from the chaotic unknown to the beauty of building a bond. The idea blossomed, branching out into countless creative pathways, ideas dancing like leaves caught in the wind. Yet even as she envisioned the project, self-doubt coiled around the edges of her mind. What if no one understood? What if she laid herself bare only to be met with disdain? Critics, both external and internal, suddenly became omnipresent. Pausing, she took a deep breath and squeezed her eyes shut, summoning memories of the conversation with Tom. His support ignited something in her that she hadn't felt in years, a belief in the transformative power of vulnerability. No artist creates without risking exposure. That's precisely what art demands. She turned her focus back to the canvas, layering colors with intent, burying her fears deep within each stroke. Maybe she could harness this uncertainty into an illuminating experience. Fear could be a canvas too. The phone rang, pulling her from her semi-trance. It was Tom. "Hey, I've been doing some research," he said, excitement bubbling beneath the gravity of their situation. She listened carefully as he shared options for resources and assistance. Each name and contact he provided reinforced her sense of purpose, invigorating her plans for the series. However, beneath his words lay an undercurrent of worry she couldn't ignore. "I need you to know," he admitted, "I'm terrified of this path we're on. What if we don't make it?" His honesty struck a chord, expanding her understanding of their mutual struggles. "Then we keep creating, right? It's who we are," Lily responded, feeling the weight shift in the conversation. "This isn't just about surviving anymore, it's about thriving." As they hung up, the resolve solidified in her chest, both for herself and for Tom. They were in this together, a united front even against the storm of their fears. Yet in the back of her mind lingered the gnawing realization of how exposing their vulnerability could open both of them to greater risks. Were they both ready to confront the fallout of their artistic honesty? And deep down, the question sizzled. What if their stories resonated far beyond their own experiences, uncovering truths neither of them knew they had? They had only begun to scratch the surface, but as both partners prepared for the journey ahead, it became increasingly clear they would need to mine their deepest emotions, facing family dynamics that had long lain dormant. The steps they were taking held an undeniable promise. Further exploration awaited just around the corner. What awaited them as they embraced the challenging truths about themselves and their past? Tom and Lily sat across the table at the local diner, a familiar setting that had transitioned from the backdrop for casual brunch conversations to the room where they began to redefine their family dynamic. The morning sun streamed through the large windows, illuminating the remnants of old complications and the promise of new beginnings. The waiter poured coffee, and with each drop, Tom felt the weight of their conversation deepening, navigating uncertainties, past frustrations, and the burgeoning excitement of future possibilities. "You've been quiet," Lily observed, pausing mid-sip. Tom looked at her, the unease of their prior weeks overshadowed by a wave of focus and determination. "I've been thinking about the exhibit, how we want to capture not only your journey, but also mine." "Your father. The art will embody our combined experiences, vulnerabilities, and triumphs." "Yes," Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Every piece can intertwine our stories, highlighting growth through loss and vulnerability. It's about showing how our past doesn't define our futures." In that moment, Tom realized the profound truth behind Lily's words. Their journeys, filled with personal failings and unexpected successes, were components of a larger narrative. They needed to move beyond the sense of shame that had long clouded their relationship. A shared past transformed into a canvas of hope. "Let's write it down," he suggested, feeling a spark of clarity igniting within him. "A mission statement for the exhibit, summarizing what we aim to communicate through your art. Your experiences as a young artist and as a mother-to-be, my experiences as a father reconciling failure and love. As they brainstormed, ideas flowed, blending their aspirations with the rawness of their truths. Tom marveled at how seamlessly Lily could articulate her emotions, channeling uncertainties into opportunities rather than obstacles. For so long, he had held a narrow view of her potential, struggling to accept her choices without dissecting them. Today, he felt a shift within himself, an internal fortitude expressing a fulfilling recognition of her journey. Together, we'll create something beautiful, he affirmed, his inner father radiating confidence and love. This has to reflect not just our stories, but the stories of others who have walked similar paths. I want your voice to be loud and clear. Lily's heart swelled with pride, and she found herself smiling brightly at her father. And I want you to know how proud I am of you, Dad. You stepped outside your comfort zone by engaging with me, by embracing this journey, instead of trying to control it. Exactly, Tom replied, their minds aligning with motivation and resilience. I want you to take the lead. This project isn't solely mine or yours, it's ours. I'm just here to support you, whatever way you need. They pored over paper and sketches, framing their vision for the exhibit. Tom became increasingly aware of how much Lily had conquered, her strength and creativity blooming like flowers from an otherwise desolate landscape. She was not just his daughter, she was a woman on the cusp of redefining what family meant to them both. As morning melted into afternoon, their dynamic shifted from apprehension toward empowered partnership. Together, they reached out to local art galleries, drafting proposals and mapping how to secure resources, different avenues they hadn't dared to consider before. Each interaction solidified their bond, transforming the jealousy and resentment into a tangible project grounded in hope. And then it happened. Just as they finalized plans for their digital portfolio to showcase Lily's work and story, Tom sensed a new battle emerging, a deeper truth hovering in the air. Lily, you know what, he said, resolving to be honest yet again. I understand now that my need to guide you stemmed more from my fears than any real desire to help. I've realized that leaning into vulnerability is the true source of strength. I appreciate that, Lily said, a look of gratitude mixed with understanding passing between them. It's a two-way street. If we want to make this work, we need to be open with each other, right? Just like in art. Tom's mind flared with insight, a realization of their ongoing transformations amid shared truths. That means we need to be mindful of our triggers, the moments where we might fall back into old patterns rather than grow together. Like when I pulled away from you, thinking I could handle it all, she reflected, her fingers twitching with the intensity that came from past mistakes. I've learned that it's fine to ask for help. Art, life, parenthood, it's all about collaboration. Exactly, Tom said, feeling as though they were both emerging renewed. We both have the chance to become the best versions of ourselves through this journey. The diner buzzed with life around them, yet for Tom and Lily, the world outside eclipsed into mere background noise. They were on the edge of something new, a collaborative journey toward art, truth, and healing. This endeavor had the potential to showcase not just their growth, but the possibility of connection for others who felt isolated by their own experiences. So as they locked eyes, each reflecting the fierce determination echoed in the other's spirit, a sense of completion washed over Tom. For the first time, he felt that he could let go of the guilt that had long shadowed his parenting. Each stroke of this partnership painted a narrative of growth instead of failure. In those fleeting moments, before the weeks of preparations and hard work lay ahead, the uncharted future shimmered with opportunity. As they finished their coffees, Tom felt resolute and grounded, knowing that whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them together, embracing both their vulnerabilities and their triumphs. Their shared journey toward creating a legacy, their art reflecting the stories they'd begun to narrate, had finally arrived. And in that truth, Tom understood that they possessed not only the ability to redefine who they were, but also the power to illuminate the principles of resilience and authenticity, not just for themselves, but for those who would witness their art. Now was the moment to solidify this newfound understanding into action. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and we will read them. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.